Subscribe to StoryLab. Now, let's begin this one. Shane Myers stood at the window of his Hamburg office, watching rain streak down the glass like tears. 15 months commanding JSOC operations in Europe had given him plenty of time to think about the decisions that brought him here. Thousands of miles from his daughter Kendra, who just turned 19 last week. He'd sent her a card and called, but it wasn't the same as being there. The divorce from Rosemary had been finalized 3 years ago, and the distance between continents made it easier to avoid the uncomfortable silences that had replaced their conversations. His phone buzzed. A text from Kendra. "Dad, can we talk later? Something weird is going on." Shane frowned, checking his watch. It was 2 a.m. in Arizona, where she attended university. Before he could reply, his office door opened. Colonel Randolph Wolf entered carrying a classified folder. "Morning, Commander. Intel just flagged something you should see." Wolf was in his 50s, built like a fire hydrant, with gray hair, cropped military short. They'd served together in 3 combat zones, and Shane trusted him more than anyone. "What V we got?" "The Orozco Cartel. They've expanded operations into human trafficking. Big time." Wolf spread photos across Shane's desk. "Border Patrol intercepted a shipment last week. 17 girls, ages 14 to 22. Shane's stomach tightened. Rosemary's maiden name was Orozco. Her brother Edgar had always been trouble, small-time dealer when Shane first met the family, but Rosemary had insisted Edgar was trying to go straight. That was 15 years ago. "Edgar Orozco? You know him?" Wolf's eyebrows rose. "He's my ex-wife's brother. Haven't seen him in years. Rosemary cut ties with her family when we married, or so she said." Shane picked up one of the photos. "How bad is it?" Federal Task Force estimates the organization at 70 to 80 members. Edgar runs it with his lieutenants, Arturo Terry, his cousin, and Wendell Price, his enforcer. They control a compound outside Nogales. Local law enforcement won't touch them. Too much corruption, too much firepower. Shane's phone rang. Kendra's name flashed on the screen. He answered immediately. "Dad." Her voice was shaking. "Sweetheart, what's wrong?" "There were these guys at the bar tonight. They knew Mom's name. They knew your name. They asked about you, about Germany, about what you do. Dad, they scared me." "Where are you now?" "Back in my dorm. My roommate Lucy's here." "But Dad, they said to tell you that family comes first." "What does that mean?" Shane's blood ran cold. He looked at Wolf, who was already pulling out his phone. "Kendra, listen to me carefully. Lock your door. Don't go anywhere alone. I'm making calls right now to get security to you. You're scaring me. I know, baby. But I need you to trust me. Stay put. I'll call you back in 10 minutes. He hung up and immediately dialed a number from memory. Jordan Clark answered on the second ring, a former SEAL who now ran private security in Phoenix. "Shane Meyer. I need a favor and I need it now." 20 minutes later, Jordan confirmed he had 2 men stationed outside Kendra's dorm. Shane sat back in his chair, running his hands through his hair. Wolf had stayed, waiting. "Talk to me," Wolf said. "Edgar's people contacted my daughter. They know where I am. They know what I do." Shane's jaw tightened. "This is a message." "About what?" "I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out." He pulled up his contacts and found Rosemary's number. They hadn't spoken in 6 months. The call went to voicemail. He tried again. Nothing. "When's the last time you had contact with your ex?" "Her birthday in June." Kendra said she was doing well, working at some clinic in Tucson. Shane stood pacing. "I need to make sure Kendra is safe first. Then I need answers." His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Your daughter is pretty. Would be a shame if something happened to that pretty face." Shane showed it to Wolf, whose expression darkened. "I'm calling this in," Wolf said. "We can have FBI on this in an hour." "Do it. But I'm also calling in favors. I want to know everything about Edgar Orozco, where he lives, who he works with, what he eats for breakfast." Over the next 6 hours, Shane pulled strings he'd been building for 20 years in special operations. By evening, he had a complete picture. Edgar Orozco had transformed from small-time dealer to cartel kingpin. The family business now included drugs, weapons, and human trafficking. His compound housed approximately 30 men at any given time. Arturo Terry, Edgar's cousin, handled logistics. Wendell Price, a former enforcer for a Mexican cartel, managed security and discipline. And there was a woman in the organization too, Rosemary Orozco Meyer. Shane stared at his ex-wife's photo on the intelligence report. She wasn't just connected to the cartel. According to surveillance, she worked directly with Edgar, managing financial operations and recruitment. The clinic where she supposedly worked? A front for screening trafficking victims. Jesus, Shane whispered. Their entire marriage had been a lie. Every time he'd been deployed, every time he'd trusted her with Kendra, she'd been part of this world. Wolf entered with fresh coffee and more files. It gets worse. We cross-referenced communications. Rosemary's been in contact with Edgar about Kendra for the past 3 months. Calls, texts, meetings. Show me. The evidence was damning. Text messages discussing Kendra's schedule, her classes, her friends. Rosemary had been feeding information to Edgar. The most recent message, sent 2 days ago. She's perfect. Young, beautiful, defiant. He'll break when she breaks. Shane's hands trembled with rage. They're planning to take her. Looks that way. The question is why? Ransom doesn't fit their profile. It's not about money. It's about control. Edgar never forgave Rosemary for marrying me, for leaving the family. This is about bringing her back in line by using Kendra as leverage. And it's about revenge against me. Shane's phone rang again. Kendra, calling via FaceTime. He answered, and his daughter's tear-streaked face filled the screen, but something was wrong. Her eyes were wide with terror, and there was duct tape across her mouth. The camera shook as someone else held the phone. No, Shane started, but a man's face appeared. Thin, angular features, dead eyes. Wendell Price. Commander Meyer. Let me show you something. The camera panned to show Kendra tied to a chair in what looked like a basement. 4 men surrounded her, all armed. Your daughter's been asking for you. Crying for daddy. It's pathetic, really. If you touch her, you'll what? You're in Germany. We're in a very secure location. You have no jurisdiction, no backup close enough to matter. And your ex-wife? She's upstairs right now, watching. The camera tilted up briefly, showing a staircase where Rosemary stood, her face emotionless. Shane forced himself to stay calm, to think tactically. What do you want, Price? Want? Nothing you can give us. But Edgar wants to send a message. You're kind, military, law enforcement. You think you're untouchable. You think you can interfere with our business, arrest our people, disrupt our operations. Edgar wants you to understand that nobody's untouchable, especially not their families. Another man appeared on screen, older, with salt and pepper hair and a gold crucifix around his neck. Edgar Orozco. Shane, it's been a long time, brother-in-law. His voice was smooth, educated, completely at odds with his actions. I'm going to give you a gift. I'm going to let you listen while we teach your daughter some manners. And you're going to remember that you're thousands of miles away, completely powerless. Edgar, listen to me. No, you listen. For years, Rosemary told me about you. The great Shane Meyer, Special Forces hero, JSOC commander. You took her from us, turned her against her family, made her ashamed of her blood. Well, now she's home. And your daughter? She's our guest. For as long as we want. The screen moved again, showing more of the room. Shane counted quickly, at least 8 men visible, probably more off camera. The room had concrete walls, minimal furniture. Soundproofed, isolated. Dad! Kendra screamed as someone ripped the tape from her mouth. Dad, please. They said. A hand struck her face hard. Shane watched his daughter's head snap to the side, and something cold and focused settled over him. This was no longer personal. It was operational. How many of you are there, Edgar? Shane asked quietly. Enough. 27 in this building alone. All armed, all loyal. And they're all going to have their turn with your little girl. Starting now. Then I'll need to find 27 body bags. Edgar laughed. Big words from a man who can't even protect his own child. Enjoy the show, Commander. The connection stayed live, but the camera pointed away from Kendra now, just audio of her screaming, begging. Shane recorded everything, his face carved from stone. Wolf stood beside him, equally grim. After 30 seconds, Shane ended the call and immediately dialed Jordan Clark. They took her. Yes. I need you to pull your team back to a 5-mile perimeter. Watch for any movement from the compound, but do not engage. I'm coming personally. Shane, that's at least an 11-hour flight. And you can't just. I can and I will. Stand by for coordinates. He hung up and turned to Wolf. I need a priority flight to Arizona. Full combat loadout. And I need a team. You're asking me to authorize an unsanctioned military operation on U.S. soil. I'm asking you to help me save my daughter from a cartel that's torturing her right now. FBI can't move fast enough. Local law enforcement is compromised. There's nobody else. Wolf was quiet for a long moment, then nodded. I'll make the calls. But Shane, this is career-ending for both of us if it goes wrong. I don't care about my career. I care about getting Kendra out alive. How many men do you want? 12. I want Ryan Shepard, Don Johnston, Wallace Barron, and Glenn Lloyd from our unit. The rest I'll pull from personnel files. People I've worked with, people I trust. We go in silent, we extract Kendra, and we neutralize the threat. You mean kill them? All 27. Edgar was kind enough to give me an exact count. Wolf's expression hardened. I'll have transport ready in 2 hours. Arms room access is yours. But Shane, once you start this, there's no going back. I started this the moment I answered that FaceTime call. Now I'm going to finish it. The C-37 military transport cut through the night sky at 40,000 feet. Shane sat in the cargo bay with his team, 12 of the most lethal operators currently serving in JSOC. They'd assembled with minimal questions, just gear checks and tactical planning. Ryan Shepard, a demolitions expert from Tennessee, sat across from Shane, cleaning his rifle. Sir, we can talk about the legal implications here? No, Shane said flatly. We're going to talk about the tactical situation. 12 of us against 27 hostiles in a fortified compound. Kendra is being held in a basement level. Our objective is extraction with minimal collateral damage to the civilian population. And the hostiles? This from Don Johnston, a sniper from Michigan with 200 confirmed kills. Edgar Orozco gave me permission to kill them all. I intend to honor his request. Wallace Barron, their medic, spoke up. What about your ex-wife? Intelligence says she's complicit. Shane had been thinking about that for the entire flight. Rosemary had betrayed him, betrayed their daughter, betrayed everything their marriage had supposedly meant. But she was still Kendra's mother. If she interferes, she's a hostile. If she doesn't, we ignore her. Kendra makes that call later, not us. Glenn Lloyd, their communications specialist, looked up from his laptop. I've been monitoring their communications. They're not expecting any response. Edgar's planning to keep Kendra for at least a week, then ransom her back to you with damages. Damages? His word, not mine. I think we can all guess what he means. Shane's jaw clenched. ETA, 90 minutes to Tucson International. Jordan Clark has vehicles waiting. Another 40 minutes to the compound after that. Then we have time. Let me brief you on the compound layout. Shane pulled up satellite imagery on his tablet. The main building is a converted warehouse, 10,000 square feet, 2 stories above ground, 1 level below. The basement is where they're holding Kendra. Guard rotations happen every 4 hours. Next rotation is at 0300, which gives us a 30-minute window when they're tired but not yet replaced. Entry points. Ryan asked. For main, front entrance, loading dock, roof access, and an emergency exit on the east side. We split into 3 teams. Team Alpha, Ryan, Don, Wallace, and Glenn, takes the roof. Team Bravo, myself, Randall Oliver, Tyler Schaefer, and Ignacio Quinn, enters through the loading dock. Team Charlie, Ian Gilmore, Buddy Reyes, David Marsh, and Gerald Gill, secures the perimeter and handles the emergency exit. Rules of engagement. Gerald Gill was the oldest of the group at 48, a veteran of 6 deployments. Anyone who points a weapon at you dies. Anyone who runs dies. Anyone who surrenders. Shane paused. We'll secure them for federal prosecution. It was a lie, and everyone in the room knew it. There would be no surrenders tonight. The plane touched down at Tucson just after midnight. Jordan Clark met them on the tarmac with 3 Suburbans, all black, all untraceable. Your daughter's still alive, Jordan said immediately. My team picked up some radio chatter 20 minutes ago. They moved her to a different room, higher security. Edgar's paranoid. You might actually try something. He should be. What's the guard situation? 24 men confirmed on site. Maybe 27 like he said, maybe more. They've got sentries on the roof, patrols around the perimeter, and a concentration of forces in the basement level. Your ex-wife is in Edgar's office on the second floor. She armed, unknown. But Shane, you should know, there's been some internal conflict. 3 of the younger guys tried to leave earlier today. Edgar had Wendell Price execute them in front of everyone. Their bodies are still in the courtyard. Shane absorbed this. 24 active hostiles, then minus the 3 dead. 21. The numbers were getting better. What about local law enforcement? Nogales PD has 3 officers on Edgar's payroll. They've been told to stay away from the compound tonight, regardless of what they hear. We're clear on that front. The convoy moved through empty desert roads, headlights off, using night vision. Shane's team was silent, each man running through mental checklists, preparation routines honed by years of combat. At 0230, they parked 2 miles from the compound and moved in on foot. The desert was cold at night, temperature dropping into the 40s, and their breath misted in the darkness. Shane could smell creosote and sage, since he associated with his early years with Rosemary, back when he'd believed her lies about wanting a normal life. Through his night vision scope, the compound resolved into sharp green detail. A high chain-link fence, topped with razor wire, surrounded the property. Guard towers on 2 corners, both manned. Lights blazing from every window. This wasn't just a cartel safe house. It was a fortress. Shane clicked his radio twice. Teams Alpha and Charlie broke off, circling to their positions. He led Team Bravo directly toward the loading dock, moving low and fast through scrub brush. 2 guards stood outside the loading dock entrance, smoking cigarettes and laughing about something. Shane signaled to Randall Oliver, who raised his suppressed rifle and fired twice. Both guards dropped without a sound. They were inside within seconds. The loading dock opened into a warehouse space filled with crates and vehicles. 3 men sat at a card table, playing poker. They looked up as Shane's team entered, hands reaching for weapons, but suppressed fire cut them down before they could raise an alarm. 3 down, Shane whispered into his radio. Alpha team in position, Ryan Shepard reported. 4 hostiles on the roof. Engaging now. Suppressed gunfire crackled through the radio. Roof clear. For down. Charlie team has the perimeter. 2 guards eliminated at the emergency exit. 9 dead in under 2 minutes. 12 remaining, plus Edgar, Wendell Price, and Arturo Terry. 15 total. Shane's team moved deeper into the warehouse, clearing rooms methodically. They found 2 men sleeping in a barracks area. Both died in their beds. Another guard was in a bathroom, killed before he could zip up his pants. 2nd floor. Shane whispered, pointing to a metal staircase. They climbed in tactical formation, weapons up, every angle covered. The 2nd floor was administrative, offices, file rooms, a conference area, and voices coming from the largest office at the end of the hall. Shane recognized Edgar's voice through the door. Doesn't matter if he's on his way. By the time he gets here, we'll have moved her to the backup location. The girl will disappear, and he'll spend the rest of his life wondering if she's alive or dead. And Rosemary? Another voice, probably Arturo Terry. She served her purpose. Once this is done, we don't need her anymore. Shane heard his ex-wife's voice then, small and afraid. Edgar, please. She's my daughter too. You should have thought about that before you married that military dog. You chose him over family. Now you get to live with the consequences. Shane kicked in the door. Edgar Orozco sat behind a mahogany desk, Arturo Terry beside him. 2 guards flanked the walls, weapons rising. Rosemary stood by the window, her face pale. The guards died first, precise headshots from Shane and Randall. Arturo reached for a pistol in his waistband, and Tyler Schaefer put 3 rounds in his chest. Edgar froze, hands on the desk. Don't move, Shane ordered, his rifle centered on Edgar's forehead. Shane, Edgar's voice was calm, measured. You're making a mistake. You kill me, 20 men downstairs will tear your daughter apart before you can reach her. Funny thing about that, Shane said, stepping closer. I count 12 bodies already. Ryan, what's your status? Alpha team moving to basement level. 5 more hostiles encountered and neutralized. 3 remaining guards outside the holding room. You're a dead man, Shane. You just declared war on. Shane shot him in the knee. Edgar screamed, collapsing behind the desk. The only dead man here is you. But first, you're going to tell me exactly where Kendra is and how many men are guarding her. Through tears of pain, Edgar gasped, basement, level sub 3. Wendell Price and 2 others. They have orders to kill her if anyone approaches. Not anyone, Shane said. Me specifically? Edgar nodded, blood pooling beneath his leg. Shane turned to Rosemary, who stood frozen against the wall. You're Kendra's mother. You want to save her? You're going to help me. I didn't know it would go this far, Rosemary whispered. Edgar said it was just to scare you, to make you stay away from our family business. You betrayed our daughter to a man who traffics in human beings. Your ignorance isn't innocence. He tossed her his radio. You're going to call Wendell Price. Tell him Edgar needs him upstairs immediately. If you warn him, if you deviate from those exact words, I will kill you, and then I'll kill every person in this building. Rosemary took the radio with shaking hands. She keyed the mic. Wendell, it's Rosemary. Edgar needs you upstairs right now. It's urgent. A pause, then Wendell's voice. What's wrong? Just, please come. Now. On my way. Shane nodded to Ignacio Quinn. Take her to Charlie team. Keep her secured until this is done. As Rosemary was led away, Shane turned back to Edgar, who was trying to apply pressure to his shattered knee. You're going to live through this, Edgar, because I want you to face what's coming. Federal charges, state charges, international trafficking charges. You're going to die in prison, old and forgotten. You think you're the hero here? Edgar spat blood. You're just another killer in a uniform. Maybe, but I'm the killer who's about to save my daughter. Footsteps pounded on the stairs. Shane and his team took positions on either side of the door. When Wendell Price entered, rifle up and scanning, they were ready. Randall shot him in the arm, disarming him. Tyler kicked his legs out, and Wendell crashed to the floor. Shane knelt beside him, pressing his rifle against Wendell's temple. Sub-level 3. How many guards? Go to hell. Shane shot him in the other shoulder. Wendell screamed. How many? 2. Just 2. Carl McCann and Mohammed Fowler. They're outside the cell. Alarm systems? Silent alarm. Triggers if the cell door opens without the code. What's the code? I don't know. Edgar has it. Shane looked at Edgar, who glared back defiantly. Shane stood, walked to the desk, and picked up Edgar's phone. It was unlocked, arrogant of him. Shane scrolled through recent apps and found a notes file labeled codes. The cell alarm code was there, 7734. I found it. Secure these 2. We're going to get Kendra. Sublevel 3 was accessed through an industrial elevator that descended 30 feet below ground. Shane's full team assembled in the warehouse, moving as one unit. Ryan Shepard carried breaching charges. Don Johnston had his sniper rifle exchanged for a tactical shotgun. Everyone was ready. The elevator descended slowly, cables groaning. When the doors opened, they faced a narrow concrete corridor lit by fluorescent strips. 2 men stood outside a heavy steel door at the far end, Carl McCann and Mohammed Fowler, both holding assault rifles. Federal agents. Shane shouted, "Drop your weapons." It was a gamble. Most cartel soldiers would shoot first. But these 2 hesitated, looking at each other, and in that moment Shane's team fired. Carl McCann fell immediately. Mohammed Fowler got off a burst of automatic fire that sparked off the elevator doors before Don Johnston's shotgun blast threw him backward. Shane ran down the corridor, his team providing cover. He reached the cell door and punched in the code, 7734. The lock disengaged with a heavy clunk. Inside, Kendra sat on a concrete floor, still tied to a chair, her face bruised and swollen. But she was alive. When she saw Shane, she started crying. "Dad, I've got you, baby." Shane cut through her restraints with his tactical knife and pulled her into his arms. She clung to him, sobbing, and he felt something break inside himself. Relief, rage, love, all mixed together. "Is it over?" she whispered. "Not yet, but you're safe now." Wallace Barron, the medic, stepped forward. "Commander, let me check her over." Shane reluctantly released Kendra, watching as Wallace assessed her injuries. Bruises, split lip, possible concussion, but nothing life-threatening. They'd beaten her, terrorized her, but they hadn't broken her. "Can you walk?" Shane asked. "I think so." Kendra stood on shaky legs. "Dad, Mom was here. She watched. She didn't stop them." "I know. We'll deal with that later. Right now, I need to get you somewhere safe." They took the elevator back up. The warehouse was secure, bodies covered with tarps, the entire scene documented by Glenn Lloyd's cameras for evidence. Jordan Clark had arrived with his security team, providing an outer perimeter. Shane led Kendra to one of the Suburbans. "Jordan's going to take you to a hospital in Phoenix. Federal agents are en route to secure the scene. You're going to give them a full statement about everything that happened. What about you? I have some things to finish here first. The men who took me, they're dead. Almost all of them." Kendra looked at her father with something like awe and horror mixed together. "You killed them." "Yes." "Good." There was steel in her voice under the trauma. "They deserved it." Shane hugged her again. "Go with Jordan. I'll join you as soon as I can." As the Suburban drove away, Shane returned to Edgar's office. The cartel leader was handcuffed to his desk, his shattered knee roughly bandaged. Wendell Price sat against the wall, similarly restrained. Randolph Wolf had arrived on a separate flight and now stood surveying the scene. "FBI's 15 minutes out. You need to make your story straight, Shane." "What story?" "Edgar Orozco kidnapped and tortured my daughter. His organization killed 3 of their own men earlier today. When we attempted a rescue operation, they fired on us. We returned fire. 21 hostiles eliminated, 2 captured alive for prosecution. That's not quite how. That's exactly how it happened. Every death was justified. Every action taken in defense of life. My daughter's life. We have video evidence of her captivity, audio recordings of Edgar's threats. This is clean, Randolph. Except for the part where you're a JSOC commander who just led an unauthorized military operation on U.S. soil. Then I'll resign. Court-martial me if you want. But Edgar Orozco and his operation are finished, and my daughter is alive. That's all that matters." Wolf was quiet for a moment, then nodded slowly. "The official report will state that I authorized this operation based on credible intelligence of an imminent threat to a U.S. citizen abroad. You were acting within your authority as a commander protecting American lives. You'll take heat for that. I've taken heat before. Besides, I saw the video they sent you. What they did to that girl." Wolf's expression hardened. "You did the right thing, Shane. Anyone with a conscience would agree." The FBI arrived in force. 15 agents, 3 forensic teams, a crisis negotiator who wasn't needed. Special Agent in charge Melvin Farmer took Shane's statement personally, listening to the recording of Edgar's FaceTime call 3 times. "This is the most clear-cut case of justifiable action I've seen in 20 years, Farmer said. "The media is going to have a field day, but legally, you're bulletproof. These men kidnapped and tortured an American citizen, threatened to kill her, and opened fire on a rescue team. Everything you did was by the book. What about my ex-wife? Rosemary Orozco? She's cooperating fully. Claims she was coerced by Edgar, threatened into providing information. Whether that's true or not, we'll determine. But she's looking at conspiracy charges minimum, possibly accessory to kidnapping." Shane nodded. He felt empty, hollowed out. The adrenaline was fading, leaving only exhaustion and the weight of what he'd done. 21 men dead by his hand and his teams. It was the right call, the only call, but that didn't make it easy to carry. "Commander Meyer?" One of the forensic techs approached. "We found something you should see." In Edgar's office, they discovered a hidden safe behind a painting. Inside were ledgers, financial records, and a laptop containing detailed records of the cartel's trafficking operations. Names, dates, locations. Evidence that would bring down dozens of associated criminals across 3 countries. "This is bigger than we thought," Farmer said, scrolling through files. Edgar's organization was just one piece. There's a whole network here. Then you've got your work cut out for you. Shane checked his watch. I need to get to the hospital. Go. We'll handle cleanup here. You'll need to be available for more interviews, probably testimony at trial. I'll be available. Shane found Ryan Shepard outside, smoking a cigarette and staring at the desert sky. Dawn was breaking, painting the horizon in shades of orange and pink. Hell of a night, Ryan said. Yeah. You know this is going to change everything, right? JSOC, the Pentagon, Congress, they're all going to want answers. Let them want. I got my daughter back. That's the only answer that matters. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Ryan asked, was it worth it? The career, the reputation, all of it. Shane thought about Kendra's face when he'd cut her free, the way she'd clung to him, trusting him to make it right. He thought about the alternative. What would have happened if he'd waited for official channels, if he'd let bureaucracy dictate the timeline while his daughter suffered? Every second of it, Shane said. 3 days later, Shane sat in Kendra's hospital room in Phoenix. She'd been cleared medically. No permanent damage, though the psychological scars would take longer to heal. A therapist visited twice daily, and Kendra was already showing remarkable resilience. Tell me about Germany, she said, wanting to talk about anything except the kidnapping. It's cold. Lots of rain. The people are efficient to the point of being intimidating. Shane smiled. But the food's good. You like the pastries. Am I going back to school? Do you want to? Kendra considered this. Not here. Not Arizona. Too many memories. Maybe I could finish my degree in Europe? Be closer to you? I'd like that. If it's what you really want. I want to feel safe again, Dad. And I feel safe around you. There was a knock at the door. Randolph Wolf entered, looking grim. Shane, we need to talk. Kendra looked between them. I can step out. No, stay. This affects you too. Wolf sat down heavily. The Pentagon's launching a full investigation into the operation. They're calling it Operation Overreach. The narrative is that you abused your authority, endangered U.S. citizens, and violated the Posse Comitatus Act. I saved my daughter from cartel kidnappers. I know, and the public knows. Social media is calling you a hero. But the military brass doesn't like precedents of commanders taking unilateral action on U.S. soil. They're worried about what it means for civilian-military relations. What are they proposing? Forced retirement with full benefits. No court-martial, no criminal charges, but you're done with JSOC. Done with the military entirely. Shane had expected this. And you. I'm being reassigned to a desk job at Fort Bragg. Punishment without admission of wrongdoing. The official story is that we both acted in good faith based on available intelligence. But better protocols need to be established going forward. That's bullshit. That's politics. Wolf stood. For what it's worth, I'd do it again. What we did was right, and I'll stand by that forever. After Wolf left, Kendra took her father's hand. They're punishing you for saving me. They're doing what they think is necessary to maintain order. I understand it, even if I don't like it. What will you do now? Shane hadn't thought that far ahead. The military had been his life for 25 years. Every decision, every plan had been framed within that context. Now, suddenly he was a civilian. I don't know yet, but I've got some time to figure it out. There was another knock. This time, it was Rosemary, escorted by a federal marshal. She looked smaller than Shane remembered, diminished by what she'd done. I'll wait outside, the marshal said. Rosemary stood awkwardly in the doorway. Kendra, I'm so sorry. Get out, Kendra said, her voice cold. Please, let me explain. You watched them hurt me. You knew what Edgar was planning, and you helped him. There's nothing to explain. I was trapped. Edgar threatened to kill me if I didn't cooperate. I thought he was just trying to scare your father, to get him to back off from investigating the cartel. I never thought he'd actually. Stop lying, Shane interrupted. The FBI found your communications with Edgar going back 2 years. You weren't coerced. You were complicit. You chose your brother over your daughter. Rosemary's face crumpled. I made mistakes. Terrible mistakes. But I'm still her mother. I still love her. Love. Kendra's voice shook with rage. You don't know what that word means. My father flew 11 hours, assembled a team, and killed 21 people to save me. That's love. What you did, that's betrayal. The federal prosecutor is offering me a deal, Rosemary said quietly. I testify against the remaining cartel members. I serve 3 years minimum. But I wanted to see you first to tell you I'm sorry. Your apology means nothing. Get out, and don't ever contact me again. Rosemary looked at Shane, pleading. Tell her. She's 19 years old, and she's been through hell. Her decision stands. You made your choices, Rosemary. Now you live with them. As the marshal led Rosemary away, Kendra started crying. Shane held her, letting her purge the emotion, the anger and betrayal and loss. When she finally quieted, she asked, What happened to Edgar and Wendell Price? Federal custody. Edgar's looking at life, without parole, on trafficking charges alone. Wendell might get a deal if he cooperates, but either way, he's not seeing freedom for decades. I want to see them. Shane frowned. Why? Because I need to look them in the eye and know they can't hurt me anymore. I need to take that power back. It was an unusual request, but Shane understood it. The FBI arranged a supervised meeting at the federal detention center. Edgar Orozco sat across from Kendra in an interrogation room, his leg in a cast, his hands cuffed to the table. The little princess, Edgar sneered. Come to gloat. No, Kendra said calmly. I came to tell you something. You tried to break me. You hurt me, scared me, made me feel helpless. And for a while it worked. But then my father came, and I watched what he did to your men. I watched them die because of what you ordered. And I realized something. What's that? You're nothing. You're a small, weak man who only has power when you're hurting people who can't fight back. My father is a hero. You're just a coward who hides behind guns and threats. And now you're going to spend the rest of your life in a cage, knowing that you lost. That I survived. That I'm going to live a full, happy life while you rot. Edgar's sneer faded. For the first time, Shane saw fear in the man's eyes. I hope every day in prison is agony, Kendra continued. I hope you think about me, about how you failed, about how your entire operation collapsed because you underestimated my father. And I hope it eats you alive. She stood and walked out without looking back. In the car afterward, Kendra was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I feel better. Good. That took courage. I learned from the best. For months later, Shane stood outside a small cafe in Hamburg, waiting for Kendra. She'd enrolled in a university program there, studying international relations with plans to work in counter-trafficking advocacy. The trauma hadn't disappeared, but she was channeling it into purpose. She arrived with a stack of books under her arm, smiling when she saw him. Dad, I wasn't expecting you until tomorrow. Got in early. Thought we could have lunch. Over schnitzel and beer, Kendra talked about her classes, her new friends, her plans for the future. She seemed lighter, more herself than she'd been in months. I got a letter from the FBI, she said eventually. Edgar's trial is scheduled for August. They want me to testify. How do you feel about that? Nervous, but ready. I want to make sure he never gets out. He won't. The evidence is overwhelming. What about you? Have you decided what you're doing? Shane had spent the past few months consulting for private security firms, turning down permanent positions, trying to figure out what he wanted. The military discharge had been difficult, but it had also been liberating. For the first time in his adult life, he wasn't bound by orders or regulations. I'm starting my own company, he said. Security consulting, but specialized. Helping families in situations like ours. Kidnapping rescue, hostage negotiation, protection services. That's perfect, Dad. You'd be amazing at that. I've got some investors interested. Jordan Clark wants to partner with me. Ryan Shepard, too. We're calling it Myers Security Solutions. Kendra raised her beer. To new beginnings. To new beginnings, Shane echoed, clinking his glass against hers. The trial came and went. Edgar Orozco received 6 consecutive life sentences. Wendell Price got 40 years. Rosemary served 3 years and disappeared after release, cutting all ties with both Shane and Kendra. The cartel's trafficking network was dismantled, leading to dozens of arrests across 3 countries. Shane's company thrived. Within 2 years, Myers Security Solutions was handling high-profile cases worldwide, kidnapping rescues in South America, executive protection in Asia, counter-trafficking operations in Eastern Europe. He built a team of former Special Forces operators, all people he trusted, all committed to the mission. Kendra graduated with honors and joined Interpol's Human Trafficking and Child Protection Unit. She worked cases that saved dozens of lives, driven by her own experience and her father's example. 5 years after that terrible night in Arizona, Shane received an award from the International Association of Chiefs of Police for his company's work in combating human trafficking. Kendra attended the ceremony, sitting in the front row, beaming with pride. In his acceptance speech, Shane said, "Every person in this room has made choices that define who they are. Some people choose power over compassion. Some choose profit over principle. But some, and I'm honored to work with many of them, choose to fight for those who can't fight for themselves. That's the choice that matters. That's the choice that endures." After the ceremony, Kendra hugged him tight. "Mom called me last week," she said quietly. Shane tensed. What did she want? To apologize again. To ask if I'd ever forgive her. Kendra pulled back, looking at her father. "I told her maybe someday. But not today. Not for a long time." "That's fair. She asked about you too. If you were happy." "What did you tell her?" "The truth. That you saved me. That you built something meaningful out of what happened. That you're exactly where you're supposed to be." She smiled. "And yeah, you're happy." Shane looked at his daughter, strong, confident, purposeful, and realized she was right. The cost had been steep. His military career, his marriage, years of peace and normalcy. But standing here, watching Kendra thrive, knowing that his work saved lives every day, he wouldn't change a thing. "Yeah," he said, "I am." That night, Shane stood on his hotel balcony overlooking the city, thinking about the choices that had brought him here. 21 men had died by his hand that night in Arizona. Edgar Orozco would die in prison. Rosemary would live with her guilt forever. And Kendra had survived, stronger for what she'd endured. The moral calculus wasn't simple. Violence had been met with violence. Justice delivered outside the formal legal system. But his daughter was alive, thriving, making a difference in the world. That had to count for something. His phone rang. Jordan Clark, calling about a new case. A teenage girl kidnapped in Colombia, family desperate for help. Shane answered. "Tell me everything." Because this was his life now. This was his purpose. Not as a soldier following orders, but as a father who knew what it meant to fight for family. And as a man who'd learned that sometimes the only way to defeat monsters was to be willing to become one yourself. The work would never end. There would always be another Edgar Orozco, another trafficking ring, another family in crisis. But Shane Meyer would be there, ready to do what needed to be done, to make the hard choices that others couldn't or wouldn't make. And every time he saved someone, every successful rescue, every trafficker brought to justice, every family reunited, he would remember that night in the Arizona desert, when he'd proven that a father's love could overcome any distance, any obstacle, any enemy. That was his legacy. Not the kills, not the controversy, but the lives saved and the families restored. And that, he thought as he prepared to brief his team on the Colombia case, was worth everything. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. That would help me a lot. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.